I wouldn't say everything was discussed, because there were things that probably, in retrospect, we could have discussed and we didn't, for some reason, didn't come up. But if you have any questions, let me know. Go ahead.
What about chips, sir? Did he agree? Did you agree to sell any more down
chips? We did discuss chips, and he's going to be. They're going to be talking to NVIDIA and others about taking chips. Look, we make great chips. NVIDIA is the leader, and I'll be speaking to Jensen from NVIDIA. But they're going to be discussing that with NVIDIA to see whether or not they can do. I said that's really between you and NVIDIA, but we're sort of the arbitrator or the referee. It's a little rough up here. The skies are a little rough.
And just to clarify, sir, that is the downgraded Blackwell chips. You would authorize those to be exported?
No, not the Blackwell. We're not talking about the Blackwell. That just came out yesterday. But a lot of chips, a lot of the chips. And that's good for us.
How soon do you think you'd be able to sign an actual...
Please, come on. You know what you do? Yeah, come on.
Let me
stand right over here.
Yeah, hey, everybody, thanks. Let me just make a point on the chips. As the president was saying, there's so many chips we already sent to China, a lot of advanced chips, etc. And as he said, NVIDIA will talk to China and see what's possible. The Blackwell chips, of course, weren't discussed. We focused on export controls of China on rare earths, and they're going to keep those flowing, which is quite important.
What are the major stumbling blocks that are left now to work through, and how soon do you think you could sign a trade deal with China?
Well, I think pretty soon. We have not too many major stumbling blocks. We have a deal. Now, every year we'll renegotiate the deal, but I think the deal will go on for a long time, long beyond the year. We'll negotiate at the end of the year, but all of the rare earth has been settled, and that's for the world. I mean, worldwide. This, I guess you could really say this was a worldwide situation, not just a U.S. situation. So we continue to produce the rare earths and buy the rare earths and everything else, when you see from other countries. But China is, that whole situation, that roadblock is gone now. There's no roadblock at all on rare earth. That will hopefully disappear from our vocabulary for a little while.
So is that a one-year pause on the policy they announced?
It's a one-year agreement, and we'll extend it after a year.
And what will
like we do. It's a one-year deal that will, I think, be very routinely extended as time goes by.
To be totally clear, they're not going to impose the rare earth controls that they proposed. President Trump and President Xi came to an understanding of that point.
What will your new tariff rate on China's goods be once you sign the deal?
Other than what the tariffs remain exactly the same.
55%.
It's about it was 57. Now it's 47.
And how long?
Because we reduced it by the fentanyl, and because I believe they are really taking strong action. We've already seen the action on fentanyl, and they're taking very strong action. So we reduced to 10%.
So that November date is gone when it was going to go up again.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. So
that's
on fentanyl, they've agreed there are a variety of precursors. You may recall that actual fentanyl was scheduled by China in the president's first term successfully. There are certain precursors where they take whatever actions they need to control that. If they can control rare earths, we know they can control the precursors. And President Xi, I think, was very strong in saying he was going to enforce those laws internally. And of course, we'll watch that. And we'll
He's going to be very strong in enforcing the fentanyl, everything having to do with fentanyl and regulations internally, including taking very strong measures against those that don't obey.
And a variety of other tariffs still remain. The Section 301 tariffs from the original, a variety of Section 232 tariffs. Some of these tariffs are, as the president mentioned, around 40%. For some individual products, it may go up to 100%, but as a general matter, it's about 45, 47%.
So, sir, it sounds like you might be going to China then after the successful meeting.
That's another thing we agreed. I'll be going to China in April, and he'll be coming here sometime after that, whether it's in Florida, Palm Beach, or Washington, D.C.
Did you read anything on the shipping fees, the 301 shipping investigation?
Well, that's been.
So we're going to postpone that while we negotiate with them about that issue. We're trying to rebuild shipbuilding. The Cranes just agreed to invest $150 billion in shipbuilding, so we think we have a good path forward.
But that's no longer an issue.
Did the war in Ukraine or Taiwan come up?
We discussed that, and we discussed basically these are rough winds in Asia. I must tell you, this is a rough flight. We could have waited an hour, maybe. These are a little tough. These are tough conditions for interviews. You know, they're going to be watching Trump. They're going to say he didn't look too good. He's got the shakes. I don't have the shakes, but people are going to think I do.
You're pretty solid.
So Ukraine, it came up.
Yeah, it did come up. Ukraine came up very strongly. We talked about it for a long time, and we're both going to work together to see if we can get something done. We agree the sides are, locked in and fighting, and sometimes you have to let them fight, I guess. Crazy. But he's going to help us, and we're going to work together on Ukraine. There's not a lot more we can do. The oil, he's been buying oil from Russia for a long time. It takes care of a big part of China. And, I can say India's been very good on that front. But we didn't really discuss the oil. We discussed working together to see if we could get that war finished. It doesn't affect China. It doesn't affect us. And I'd like to see it done on the basis. I don't like to see 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 young people, mostly young people, for the most part soldiers, be killed. It's not costing us anything. In fact, we make money, and I don't even want to talk about making money. I don't care about making money in that case. But, we send weapons to NATO. They buy full price. They buy the weapons. They give them to whoever, but I think they give them probably to Ukraine for the most part. And we discussed it. We discussed all that. We're going to work together to try and get the war with Russia and Ukraine solved.
What about the Taiwan issue, sir?
It never came up. Taiwan never came up. It was not discussed, actually.
What else didn't come up that you thought might come up? You had mentioned you didn't get to everything.
We had a long meeting, as you know, but a lot of things we discussed in great detail. A lot of things we brought to finalization. A lot of finalization. I thought it was a great meeting. I think it was a very friendly meeting. It was a good meeting for two very large, powerful countries. And that's the way we should get along with the large, powerful.
Why did you write your Truth Social about nuclear testing? What about resuming nuclear testing? What prompted you to do that right before the meeting?
It had to do with others. They seem to all be nuclear testing.
Russia?
We have more nuclear weapons than anybody. We don't do testing. We've halted it many years ago. But with others doing testing, I think it's appropriate that we do also.
Any details around the testing, sir? Like where, when?
It'll be announced. We have test sites. It'll be announced.
Did Israel give you a heads up before they bombed Gaza? And is it still a ceasefire if they're stopping?
Ceasefire. It is. No, they had a sniper, and one of their soldiers were killed, and they did retribution. So we'll see. But it is a ceasefire. It's back to ceasefire.
But is that
What is the thinking behind reducing troops in Romania, the drawdown of U.S. troops in Romania?
You'd have to ask. I could tell you about it, but it's not very significant. It's not a big deal.
On nuclear weapons, sir, which countries do you have in mind when you say you want to send a signal?
What a rough ride this is. The interviews are tough enough without your life being threatened. You guys okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That camera guy's very steady. We're going to look real bad today on television, I'll tell you. I think that, it's pretty much, I think we've discussed mostly what we said, pretty comprehensive. We're going to issue a statement on some of the details. But overall, I guess on the scale of from 0 to 10, with 10 being the best, I would say the meeting was a 12. Okay, I think it was a 12. I think very importantly, just the whole relationship is very, very important. And I think it was really good.
Especially coming on the heels of the successful trip. We're in Malaysia. You signed a peace deal for Cambodia and Thailand. Critical mineral deals with all our allies.
So many successful meetings.
Right?
And so many meetings great for our country with literally hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars have come into our country over the last 4 days, represented by this meeting. But trillions of dollars, where Toyota is going to build plants, $10 billion worth of plants. And, I could go over so many different companies coming in. They're pouring money into the United States. So beyond even this meeting, this was an unbelievable trip. And I hope you're glad you were a part of it. It was big. Every country, Japan, I mean, you look at South Korea, Japan, and so many other countries that we met there, they're investing tremendous amounts of money in the United States, like money that we've never seen before.
So are we investments from China in the U.S., additional investments, anything like that?
They have investments, and they will invest, and China, I think they feel very strongly. They congratulated me on the tremendous success that we've had, because there's never been a country that has had so much money come into it for purposes of investment, for building, for auto plants, for AI, etc. So he was very strong on congratulating me for that.
But you didn't commit to any additional investment or outflow?
We didn't really discuss it, but he would.
Did you ever get through to Kim Jong-un about setting up a meeting? Does he have a phone?
We never were able to talk because I was so busy. And really, this is why we came. I think it would have been maybe disrespectful to the importance of this meeting if we did that. So I'd come back with respect to Kim Jong-un. I'd come back.
What do you want to talk about with him?
I had a great relationship with Kim Jong-un. I think if I didn't get elected, you would have had, if Hillary Clinton came in at the time, who he doesn't like too many people other than me, if you want to know the truth. I think you would have had a big war. Could have been a very bad war, too.
Sir, with the nuclear announcement, just one more on the nuclear announcement, do you worry that we're entering a more risky environment when it comes to nuclear issues?
No, I don't think so. I think we have it pretty well locked up. But we have more than anybody. But I see them testing. And I say, well, if they're going to test, I guess we have to test. I'd like to see a denuclearization because we have so many, and Russia has some. Russia's second, and China's third, and China will catch up within 4 or 5 years. I think de-escalation would be, they would call it denuclearization, would be a tremendous thing. And it's something, we are actually talking to Russia about that, and China would be added to that if we do something. Thank you all. It was a great success. It was a great honor. I mean, he's a tremendous leader of a very powerful country, and I give great respect to him, and we appreciate the fact that he came for this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anything on Canada? Anything on Canada?
We had a very nice conversation with him last night. We really did.
Thank you.
And that's, of course, President Trump on Air Force One on the way back from Asia. We're going to gather all the way up until today, this evening. There's an event happening tonight. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to YouTube. Tonight we are broadcasting for the first time in 5 years over on YouTube. We only have a 20-minute window over there because we don't have 1,000 subs. We're still below 1,000 subscribers. So if you're watching this right now, I'm posting into chat our new YouTube channel. Please do me a favor and subscribe to it so we can add them to our chorus. It's a better feed than a lot of the feeds that we have. Let me see if I can show it to you here on the screen. There we go. This is, oops, wrong screen. Let's try it again. There we go. I think that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. So there we go. That's YouTube. And make sure that you're subscribed to it. Just click on our icon over here and go right up to it. We've had so many false starts with YouTube. It has been, I will say mission difficult. I won't say mission impossible, but it has been very difficult working with YouTube because, well, as we're going to see tonight, they have not been our friend. They have been specifically working to destroy the United States from within, and that is putting it mildly. Meanwhile, President Trump this morning, or rather last evening at 10:39 p.m., wrote the following. I just got back from Asia, where I met the leaders of many countries, including China, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Singapore, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and others. Interesting who he missed in that list. Anyway, it was a great honor to meet them, but more particularly to see that America is respected again. Respected like never before, all in caps. Great trade deals were made, long-term relationships now exist, and money is pouring into our country because of tariffs and, frankly, the landslide results of the 2024 presidential election. The one question that kept coming up, however, was how did the Democrats shut down the United States of America, and why did the powerful Republicans allow them to do it? The fact is, in flying back, I thought a great deal about that question. Why? Majority Leader John Thune, the Speaker and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson are doing a great job, but Democrats are crazed lunatics and have lost all sense of wisdom and reality. It is a sick form of the now legendary Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, that comes from losing too much. They want trillions of dollars to be taken from our healthcare system and given to others who are not deserving. People who have come into our country illegally, many from prisons and mental institutions. This will hurt American citizens, and Republicans will not let it happen. It's now time for the Republicans to play their Trump card. Interesting he's used that. It's the first time he's used that in about a dozen years. And go from what is called the nuclear option. Get rid of the filibuster, and get rid of it now. Just a while ago, Democrats, while in power, fought for 3 years to do this, but were unable to pull it off because of Senators John Manchin of West Virginia and Kirsten Sinema of Arizona. Never have Democrats fought so hard to do something because they knew the tremendous strength that terminating the filibuster would give them. They want to substantially expand, or pack, the United States Supreme Court, make Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico states, thereby automatically picking up 4 Senate seats, many House seats, and at least 8 electoral votes, and many other highly destructive things. Well, we now are in power. And if we did what we should be doing, it would immediately end this ridiculous country-destroying shutdown. If Democrats ever came back into power, which would be made easier for them if the Republicans are not using the great strength and policies made available to us by ending the filibuster, Democrats will exercise their rights and will do it, and it will be done the first day they take office, regardless of whether or not we do it. In addition to all the other things we would get, such as best judges, best U.S. attorneys, and best of everything, this was a concept from years ago when Barack Hussein Obama, former Majority Leader Harry Reid, made together in order to take advantage of the Republicans. Now I want to do it in order to take advantage of the Democrats. And then it continues, because of the fact the Democrats have gone stone cold crazy, the choice is clear. Initiate the nuclear option, get rid of the filibuster, and make America great again. Well, how is that going? Well, we heard a little earlier today from John Thune, leader of the Senate for the Republicans, who said he has no intention of doing any such thing. But there's an event tonight, and we will be picking that up in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, there was more that was happening on the ground. Specifically, there was a meeting in the Senate yesterday with regard to certain Google executives that were coming in and being asked questions about illegally depriving American citizens of their constitutional rights and doing it under a public-private partnership blanket during the old Biden regime. And here is how that went.
Mr. Chairman, the Biden administration did press us to take action with regard to certain COVID-19 information that they thought should be taken down. But as Chairman Jordan's report indicates, we made our decisions independently and would often say no when we were pressed by the administration.
Mr. Potts, does Meta regret its actions and for not speaking out at the time against the Biden administration?
Senator, we do regret our actions for not speaking out more forcefully against the Biden administration. We made independent choices, but we did feel pressure during those discussions.
Mr. Erickson, same question.
Mr. Chairman, we get outreach from a lot of actors, governments around the world, administrations, member of Congress, NGOs. We feel a responsibility to consider when content is flagged, but also a responsibility to evaluate that content by our trust and safety teams independently relative to our policies, which are publicly available and on the internet, and make a decision about whether they are violative, regardless of the actor, the political affiliation who's flagging the content for us.
Well, Mr. Erickson, let's take one example here. So this is a post, and a video showing election fraud claims made by both Democrats and Republicans. So showing Hillary Clinton making claims of election fraud, showing Donald Trump making claims of election fraud. And YouTube deleted it, blocked it, gave the creator a strike, a step towards deleting his entire channel. Why would you remove a journalistic record of the claims of election frauds from both Democrats and Republicans?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the question. We have election policies, and we've had election policies for a long time to ensure that the most important thing that citizens can do, which is to vote, they can find relevant and useful information on our platforms, where to vote, for example, what time the...
Yeah, but that was none of this. They're not saying vote on Wednesday at the supermarket. This is videos of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump making claims of election fraud. Now, would you agree that it is friggin' news when one of the two parties' major presidential candidates makes a claim of election fraud? Would you agree that that's news?
Excuse me. Yes, that is news.
Okay? YouTube blocked it and said, nope, you, the citizens, we're not going to allow you to see it. And by the way, then YouTube reversed that decision and unblocked it. And you can see on the right, instead, you decided not to block it, but simply to demonetize it. It is Google's testimony that you regret nothing. Is that right?
So, Mr. Chairman, during the 2020 election, after the states had certified the election, we did adopt a policy that on YouTube that took down content that claimed there was widespread fraud or errors or glitches in the election because the election at that point had been certified. And what our trust and safety teams do is...
So hold on a second. You're taking the position if anyone argues there's fraud, if anyone lays out claims, if anyone lays out evidence, the omnipotent Google in the sky will say, no, you stupid citizens, you don't get to hear this. Is that your position?
Respectfully, no, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Feld pointed out, that in the context of the 2020 election, after the states had certified the election, we took the posture, our trust and safety teams, that claims of widespread fraud should be taken, there should be action taken against those. But when the chance of real world harm had dissipated, we removed that policy to allow our aperture
Mr. Erickson,
to open.
do you know what company's employees were the single largest donors to the Hillary Clinton for President campaign?
No, Senator.
That would be Alphabet, the parent company of your company. And yet, you're taking down evidence of even what Hillary Clinton, the candidate that your employees gave more money to than any company in America. How does that make any sense?
Mr. Chairman, we have policies in place to ensure that no one can manipulate.
So why did YouTube reverse its policies and put up a bunch of accounts you'd taken down?
So, Senator, after the opportunity for real world harm had dissipated, our trust and safety teams believed it was appropriate at that point to open the aperture and allow for a more robust discussion about potential.
Mr. Erickson, you're sitting next to the representative from Meta. If Facebook can say they regret giving in to the Biden administration's pressure, why is that so difficult for Google to say?
Well, Senator, we're very proud that we made our decisions independently.
So no mistakes,
and free from
no mistakes whatsoever. Google never apologizes, no regrets. You have the power, and to hell with anyone that views it differently?
Senator, no. I'm not saying that.
But you're not going to apologize or express regret for anything?
We make mistakes.
Name one.
We make those mistakes, Senator.
Name one. Like you're saying, was this a mistake, yes or no?
At the time, Senator, our trust and safety teams, when looking at content on YouTube that claimed there was widespread fraud After the states had certified the validity of the election, we believed it was appropriate to take action against that content.
So is it Google's position that once an election is certified that there can never have been fraud in that election?
Senator, again, those decisions are made.
No, that's the question. You just said once the election's certified, no one can say anything about fraud. Is that your position?
No, Senator.
You know, there's a whole body of election fraud litigation, and candidates in both parties challenge elections all the time, raise claims of fraud. They're litigated often after an election is certified.
Senator, at that time, after the election had been certified, in context, we felt it was appropriate to take down allegations of widespread fraud because of potential real-world harm at that moment. When that time had dissipated, we did believe it was appropriate to deprecate that policy and allow for that discussion.
Well, let me say, I don't think it is real-world harm to respect free speech and to allow the American people to hear what Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are saying. And it goes without saying, I disagree with an awful lot of what Hillary Clinton is saying. But I don't think a tech monopoly should be deciding what the American citizens get to hear and what they don't get to hear, particularly given your heavy ideological bias. And I got to say, I'm astonished that you sit here unwilling to express regret for anything at all. That is a level of contempt for free speech that does not reflect well. And it may be why Google abandoned its old motto of "Don't be evil," because you're certainly not living up to that old model.
So I just want to make a comment with regard to, particularly since we're on YouTube tonight, at least for a few minutes anyway. The consequence of what was just said. YouTube is saying it made no mistakes. Okay, fair enough. They made no mistakes. They decided what information was able to stay up. They decided which accounts to destroy. They decided which information would issue forth in the marketplace, and there would be no debating. Because again, behind the scenes, which they denied at the time and said it was a conspiracy theory, that they were conspiring together, the tech giants, on what would be permissible to go across their networks. Which is fine. Maybe together they are operating as a cartel here in the United States for information. Okay, fair enough. But people died as a consequence. So my question is, in trust and safety, because they decided and got to decide what information was true and what information was false, including medical information, including from people who worked 35 years in the business, and they were completely destroyed. Their information was completely erased. Their opinion was made to be a laughingstock, even breaking up families. So my question is, since they are the ones, the gatekeepers, get to decide, well, who's responsible for the deaths in my family? Just curious. I'd like to know. Speaking of information that was sidelined, not just election information, RFK Jr. has an update for us.
I'll say, explain to your listeners that that people wonder, why did we need to suppress ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine? These are well-established drugs with well-established safety profiles that have billions of doses have been given. Ivermectin is a human drug. It also works on horses, but it won the Nobel Prize because it works so well on human beings. Mm-hmm. Tony Fauci's problem was this. There's a little-known federal law that says you cannot give an emergency use authorization to a vaccine if there is any medication approved for any purpose that is shown effective against the target disease. So if Tony Fauci or anybody had admitted that hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin are effective against COVID, it would have been illegal for them to give the emergency use authorizations to the vaccines, and they could never have gotten them approved. And it would have been, a $200 billion enterprise that would have collapsed.
That is fascinating. I mean, I have been covering this very closely now for all of the 2 years. That's the first I've heard that. I mean, in your book.
Let me just ask a question. Just throw this in there because, curious minds want to know. Does Google have any advertising revenue share with Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson? Huh. I'd be curious to find out. Oh, you mean they do? Oh, I guess that makes better sense now. A monetary interest. So I guess we're going to have to include the sales team in this responsibility load.
So he would not have gotten emergency use authorization for the vaccine if the medical community had been saying ivermectin works. It is an effective treatment for COVID.
Well, the medical community, a lot of it was saying that. I mean, there's 17,000 doctors who've signed a petition, and there are so many peer-reviewed publications now that consistently say that, but he had to aggressively crusade against it to kind of drown out those reports by saying it's a horse medication, it's, people are taking it and it's dangerous and it's overdosing people. And,
well, why did he keep saying it? Why did he keep saying it after he got his authorization?
Well, even if you have the emergency use authorization, the law appears to say you can't have it anymore if there's a functioning medication. So, that may be why. Again, I try not to look in his head, but I do. There's a very, very strong incentive for him to kill ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. And, there are many doctors, including Harvey Reich of Yale, who's one of the leading biostatisticians, epidemiologists in the world. Peter McCulloch, who is the most published doctor in the history of the world in his specialty. Pierre Corey, these doctors who've treated tens of thousands of COVID patients successfully, they consistently say, and the science supports this, that 500,000 Americans did not need to die.
That seems pretty reasonable to me. So let me just get this straight. I want to make sure I'm not misstating. I want to state exactly what it is. It looks like ivermectin was known to be an alternative. And had there been an alternative, the emergency use would not legally have been able to be given. And suppressing the information that ivermectin was usable was an employable device in the instance that maybe what that does is cloud up the decision maker's point of view, that is to say, the patient. Which patients were told, or which ones weren't, that there was an alternative to the vaccine? Or is it a matter of fraud, that there was no other option? That's the only thing you can do. I seem to remember something about 2 weeks to flatten the curve and safe and effective. But I also seem to remember that as soon as somebody went contrary to that and started reading the peer-reviewed literature on the matter, and specifically looking into the science behind it, that account went away faster than yesterday's news. Well, I want to cover this before we lose YouTube, because we only have it for, I think it's 25 minutes or 20 minutes or something. But I want to read through the nuclear option for a minute. We have quite a bit of other material to get to. You'll find us over on our website, gooddog-usa.com. You'll also find links to a lot of the material that we cover and have covered these last 5 years. If you're just joining us over on YouTube and you've missed out on that, you've missed about 4,000 hours of research material. And all of it's, of course, available for free. That said, the history of the nuclear option in the Senate. Many in the Senate would tell you that this is the end of the world if President Trump and the Republicans execute the nuclear option. Well, it's not the first time it's been used. The first time it was used in all of Senate history was in 2013. This was on November 21st, 2013, when then led by Democrat Harry Reid led the Senate to invoke the nuclear option, thus lowering cloture threshold required for passing a lower court judicial nominee. This was to overcome a threatened and then actually ongoing Republican filibuster blocking President Obama's nominees at the time. This included over 200 executive branch positions and federal judges below the Supreme Court level. Democrats had held the Senate majority since 2007, but rarely had 60 votes to pass, particularly the radical communists that Obama was putting forward. This targeted advice and consent duties under the Constitution, allowing simple majority confirmations to fill vacancies and reduce obstruction on routine appointments. Now, the next time it was invoked was in 2017. This was during President Trump's term, his first term, the first elected term. And this was done by the Senate Republicans again, this time led by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on April 6th, 2017. The objective at the time was to eliminate the filibuster for Supreme Court nominees, and this was to confirm President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Neil Gorsuch, in a 52-45 vote after Democrats filibustered, citing GOP's 2016 blockade of Obama's nominee, Merrick Garland. My goodness, did we ever dodge a bullet there? Quite literally, actually, in Butler. This extended the 2013 changes to the High Court, enabling faster ideological shift in the judiciary amid 130 district court vacancies. They were able to be filled during President Trump 1.0. The next time it was invoked was in 2019, reducing post-cloture debate time for lower-level executive nominees. And this was to speed up the confirmations of President Trump's sub-cabinet executive branch picks, which had essentially been blockaded by Democrats. The Democrats were delaying and extending the debates to basically deny President Trump the ground, the ability to pass what the electors in the country, the American people who put President Trump into power, they wanted to deny that from the American voter. It cut post-cloture time from 30 hours to 2 to 8 hours per nominee or group, and addressed over 100 stalled appointments and the GOP frustration with minority blockades. So it was a partial win. Now, the reason we bring this up is that this is a little bit different in the current nuclear option, because in this, it has to do with funding. And President Trump and the Republicans have pushed forward a bill and offered it to the Democrats, which continues funding at the Democrat levels, which included a lot of the grift and graft that has gone on that has been proved by Doge. Yet despite all that, President Trump has offered them a fig leaf, which allows them to do a lot of the, electioneering spending, which they have been doing. But it doesn't allow them to spend $1.5 trillion for illegal aliens and their health care and other needs that they have once they get to this country. That's really what this is all about. Should SNAP and other programs from the U.S. government be used to fund illegal alien invaders or not? That's the question. Next, Oscar Ramirez, from Real America's Voice correspondent, has breaking news. This is regarding Mexican authorities, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to let YouTube go because this information would almost certainly get me banned on YouTube instantly. So I'm apologizing in advance for having to let you go right now. We will come back on Sunday, by the way. We will see you on Sunday on YouTube. And you'll also find us continuing our live stream on other channels without interruption. So make sure if you're over on YouTube right now, you can go over to our Rumble channel. Let me post a link to that just in a moment. I think I got it around here somewhere. Where did I put it? Here it is. This is the one. Okay, and posting the link over on YouTube so you guys can click over. You can also find us on Twitch. You can find us on Odyssey. You can find us on a whole bunch of other different platforms. Here's that link. Also over on X. We're now broadcasting on X as well, so you'll find us there as well. So yeah, don't let this change of location fool you. We will be back. Anyway, so this has just been an experiment tonight over on YouTube, and it sure is nice to see everybody over there. Here we go.